Hi everybody, it's John with the Simplest Biz. Listen, I wanted to go over a video today and talk about my story, how I got from A to Z, from where I was way back when to where I am now, and give you a little bit of background on me since you are maybe considering investing in this course and this training about what I've been doing for the last 23 years. I want to kind of go back and cover what was going on with me even before that to where it got me to this business and the pivot points in my life that took place. I'm not going to bore you with a ton of details, but there are things in my life, and I'm sure in yours, where there's certain little areas, hinges in your life where you can go either way, and it makes a big difference depending on what happens in your life and what you do in those moments, right? And I just want to kind of cover a few of those with my life to give you a better understanding of where I'm coming from and how I got to this point and where I'm able to share this information that I've learned over these years as well. So my life wasn't always this way, and way back in the day, back even my teen years, I was infatuated with music, writing music, and I was in a band, and we had a friend of ours that he had a tour bus. His family owned several tour buses, and we'd travel all over the Southeast and play shows. And the funny thing was, just as a fun memory, like the week before, ZZ Top had used the bus, right? And it would be up on the front of the bus, and it would say ZZ Top. And so when you're riding down the road, people would see that. Well, when we used the bus, the next week after that, we'd leave ZZ Top up there. Or I remember one week it was like Corey Hart, and then there's several other pretty big names. Hart was one of them. So there had been several big name bands that have been using these tour buses before us, and we'd always leave them up. So when we were going down the road, people would notice. And, the name of my band was Fast Forward. But anyway, they would think we were ZZ Top, and cars would be on each side of the tour bus thinking, well, wow, that's ZZ Top. I hope we get to meet them. And we'd pull into McDonald's because, we weren't rich or anything way back in the day, and to eat. And it would still be up there, and people would gather around the bus. And we had this guy named Josh Coffey. He'd let people in. And then they find out it was not ZZ Top, it was us. But you kind of see the sinking feeling in their face that, I thought it was going to be ZZ Top. Well, they still thought it was cool that they're on tour bus. So we did that over and over again. It was a lot of fun. So that was way back in the day, and there was a lot of sense of freedom back then. So it kind of planted a seed in me. Wow, this is freedom. Doing our own thing, making our own music, traveling around in late teens, early 20s. So that was a lot of fun. I'll skip down many years so I don't bore you with every little detail of my life. But what happened many years later, I ended up with the music. I was still writing music and stuff, but I wasn't touring. The band broke up and all that. But I was working for a really high-pressured business down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida in my 20s. And this is one of those pivot points that take place in people's lives and in my life. This boss I had, the owner of the business, actually the owner's son, but he was over everything. And he was such a ass, for lack of a better word. I remember one day coming in and looking over, and one of the employees, it was a rental car company, and it was a massive rental car company. We had 5,000 cars on the lot. So, airplane loads of people would be coming in at one time. We were renting 1,200 cars a day. It was bonkers. Well, regardless, everybody there worked hard. I was in management, and I was an operations manager. And, the girl I was with at the time, she liked the fact I was city operation manager, and I guess she liked the ring of the title. And personally, for me, I could give a rip. I didn't think they were paying me what I was worth. But one day, one of the workers was on the payphone trying to get a ride home. He had finished his shift. And this jerk of a owner, he comes over with the hedge clippers and he cuts the line of the payphone. And you don't see payphones very often anymore, but some of you guys will relate. He cuts it and he's telling him to go back to work and screaming at him. And I'm just shaking my head going, I do not want to work for anybody, right? Especially what was going on there. There was like 10 truckloads of cars coming in a day, new cars, and then 10 truckloads going out. And as operations manager, it was a crazy environment to work in. I did one thing though. I hung up the city manager, operations manager hat, and the girl I was with was like, well, you'll lose your title. I don't care about the title. I went in the sales area of the rental, and there was such volume. I ended up making 3 and 4 times what I was making as a manager, but I didn't have the title, and that stuck in my brain. It gave me a lot more level of freedom by realizing, we're all salespeople, whether we like it or not. Even as a child, you're trying to convince your mom to get the cookie or the Evel Knievel doll or whatever. I'm throwing way back. And you have to sell that point of view to someone and communicate. Well, I realized moving from management into sales as part of the rental operation, that it was really more on me, and it gave me a little bit more sense of freedom because I could rely on improving my skill set to make that thing happen, right? And improve those sales and improve the income I was making, and it was more on me to do it, which I liked. So I put that, entrepreneurial, even though I was working for somebody else, bug in my brain. Still, there was a lot of frustration. I'm working for somebody else, working lots of hours. I'm not dictating when I work and all that. And I remember another pivot point at that point in my life. I remember telling a friend, I said, if I wouldn't care if I sold hot dogs on the corner, as long as it was mine. Buy low, sell high. Hot dogs don't cost that much in the markup. If you ever looked into it, it's crazy. Hot dog costs you about 15 cents or whatever, and you're selling it for $2 and $3 a pop, right? So hot dogs was a symbol of I wanted to find something, and I remember saying that. And I fast forward to the next transition in my life is I got into remodeling. There was a few other little bars and management and restaurant management and stuff in my 20s as well, before I had anything to do with the pallet business. But the next major stop was I was into remodeling and all different types of things with painting and restoring bathrooms and there was some flooring and vinyl siding and you name it. It was just whatever the job was, we were doing it. And I had 2 different businesses as far as that goes, working with a friend of mine for a while, and then later on, a few years later, I was working with somebody else doing kind of the same thing. He was actually more skilled than I was. And, that gave me another sense of freedom. It's my own thing. I worked my butt off doing that. And I like the sense of freedom, but, 50, 60 hours, 40, 50, 60 hours a week, still, it didn't hurt as much because it was mine, right? But at the same time, I haven't quite found the right model yet to give me time freedom and money freedom. Entrepreneurs will work harder just about than anybody else to work for themselves, and sometimes a lot more than you would if you had a regular job. So there's that trade-off going on with that particular business I was doing. And then what happened was, you remember I was telling you a minute ago about the hot dogs and buy low and sell high. I was introduced to the pallet business. in the pallet business, when I realized, you know, how much there was of it, you know, the sheer magnitude of the pallets, the amount of pallets that were just in my area, right? And that they were given to me for free. I said, I got to figure this out, you know. And it made me think about that hot dog statement, that hot dog stand I was willing to get way back when I was working for those jerks down in Fort Lauderdale. But I said, I'm not even buying low. I'm getting, you know, this stuff for free, and we're able to sell it. Now, did I do it perfect in the beginning? Absolutely not. I didn't know exactly how to help these businesses out and all that. But I had been in business for myself before, and part of being in business is problem solving and trying to find a better way, a more efficient way, a more profitable way, while simultaneously helping other businesses as well, you know, that we were serving. And it was me and Dane, my partner in the remodeling, doing this in the very beginning. Now, you throw a monkey wrench into that, and Dane fell off the side of the planet, and he ran off with some girl, and you might have heard me talk about that, and now it's all up to me. And I've just been introduced to this business. You know, this is back in 1998. Well, I started figuring out, you know, it took me quite a while because I was doing it wrong. I was doing it like a scavenger at one point, you know, going after one size pallet. I was painting myself in the corners. I couldn't figure out right off the bat how to help these businesses out the right way, or which business to deal with, and where to go, and who they were, and what to say, and what problems they had. That took time, but it was time I was willing to devote, because the more I dug into the business, that hot dog stand started crystallizing, because not only was I getting my stuff for free and selling it, I didn't have to store the stuff. I didn't have, you know, have a building. I didn't have to have the hot dog stand. I didn't have the building or the lease or the insurance, you know, on the property, and I didn't need the employees. I didn't have to go buy the hot dogs, the inventory, the business that I was dealing with. The supply had it. So it circled all back around. I had found something that made sense. I had to figure it out. I used the background that I'd gone through with all these other businesses that weren't quite matching up to have the tenacity to keep going to figure it out. You know, I could have given up at one point, you know, doing this business because I wasn't doing it right. But I knew that there was going to be a better way, and it was my job to figure out every aspect of this business. It took years, and even expanded onto those ideas after the downturn in what was that, 2006, 9 or whatever, and actually allowed my business to grow even more, because I brought more to the table, all the other items that, besides the pallets, that started coming into play. So there was multiple streams of revenue, and this whole time I'm keeping it to myself, you know, meaning it's my little secret. I saw all the pallet scavenger guys out there, and I never really thought of myself in those terms, the way they were doing it, because they were cheating themselves. They weren't doing it the right way. They were limiting themselves, right? So I was always keeping it to myself, and for years and years and years and years and years and years and years, and it was my little baby. It was my customers. It was my little money, time freedom. I was the guy, you know, that was playing golf 3 or 4 times a week. Goofing off probably more than I should have. But it just was working, right? And some of you guys know the story. A few years back, a friend of mine came over into town, and I let him know that, hey, I got to do some pallets today. And he's going, what are you talking about? And went out there and rode around with me and realized what I had a hold of, and he looked me straight in the eye and said, this is brilliant. Will you teach me how to do it? And that brings me full circle to Did I ever think I would be teaching other folks how to do this? It never had crossed my mind at that point. But the fact that I've been doing it for so long, I think I'm uniquely qualified to do it after 20, almost sort of 23 years now. And I've created a whole other purpose for my life as well. On top of that, the actual business, I'm able to show other people what I've been doing all these years, and all the problems that I had to figure out, and all the answers I had to come up with, and all the solutions for the businesses I had to come up with, and who those businesses were, and what those problems were, and the joy of it all was I got to make great relationships. You know, this business allows a lot of freedom to create those relationships. So all those pivot points, from getting a taste of that freedom way back in the day, being in the band and traveling all over in the tour bus and all that, to having the crap job, the shit job, if you want to just be blunt about it, and working for somebody that was trying to grind you in the dust, and realizing that's not what you want, to the point of planting a seed in my mind to, I want to find something simple, and going to the model of actually having my own thing, like in the remodeling business, but working myself to death. And I liked the fact it was mine, and I didn't have to clock into somebody else's time schedule and all that, but it wasn't the right thing. And then it came to this. It came to the Simplest Biz. And, dude, I've beat the system for the longest, and I still am. Now I get the joy of teaching other people how to do it, and still run this business on top of it. You know, I still giggle on the way to work, and you've probably heard me say that, but you know, it's that type of business. It's a scavenger hunt with a map. So I just want to give you guys a little brief background. You know, I'm skipping over my marriage and my wife and everything that she's brought to the table to focus my life as well. So kudos, big kudos to her. Because I'd probably still be playing golf 4 days a week if you want to know the truth. So I'm so grateful for her helping me focus and supporting me in all the things that I've been doing. So that absolutely comes into play, and I do not want to skim over that aspect of my life because it means the world to me. But that being said, if you guys have done some research and thinking this might be for you, dig a little deeper, and make sure it is, because I want good students and I want to help as many people as possible, but I want serious people as well. I want people that have tenacity, have a work ethic, have some communication skills. I'm not saying you have to been in business for yourself before, but be ready to take on that challenge. I had to go through all those phases of my life to get to the point where I was always trying to up-level myself, to prepare myself for the point where I had to figure those things out and better my communication skills and my sales skills and my problem-solving skills, and understand that it's not going to beat me down as well. Get over a hurdle, go to the next hurdle, jump the hurdle, get comfortable with being uncomfortable for a little bit until you are comfortable. Any business is like that when you try something new, and it will be for this. But this isn't rocket science, but you got to know your stuff, okay? So I appreciate y'all listening to me. I've rambled on a little bit, but just want to give you guys a little bit of background on what's going on with my life and how I got to this point, and I'm here for you if you decide to take the leap and jump on board and do what I've been doing for all these years and get some freedom back for you. Okay? All right. Y'all have a good one. We'll talk soon.